Hey, so I decided I want to learn Clojure so I can use Rome render, and I thought I'd create a vlog about this. I'm not promising that I'll keep this up for a very long time, but for the first couple of days I thought it would be nice just to follow how I learn. And so first of all, I picked up or looked for some resources, and these are the resources I found. The first one, this visual overview of similarities and differences between Clojure and JavaScript. This is a very handy reference. You can just simply see the comparison of how you would express something in JavaScript and how you do it in Clojure. So for example, strings, you use quotation marks. The single quote strings don't work in Clojure. You can see that Boolean expressions are the same. Nothing is null versus nil, etc. Keywords is something that's unique to Clojure and is missing from JavaScript. Also, if I come down here, you can see that vector looks like this, and also a map looks somewhat similar, but of course it's a different setup. And then here, functions in JavaScript, I have this named function, which would look like this in Clojure. And if I have anonymous functions like this here, that would look like this in Clojure. So anyway, I won't go through this. This is a very handy reference guide. The other bit I picked up was some documentations. I particularly like this Clojure docs.org, and here I can just search for various functions that I want to perform. I also found this resource online, Jacek Shee's Learn Reagent-Free course. It is a good introduction to Clojure, as well as I found this YouTube course. So based on this, I started out, and so for today I attempted three things. I wanted to start with a hello world, and so how does this work? The way it works is, and maybe I'll just come down here and I'll do another hello world. So I type in Rome render, and then I open a block reference and I start typing my block reference. I hit enter to create new, and then I change the script to Clojure, and I'm going to create every Clojure script should start with a namespace. So I'm just going to create demo namespace here, and I'm going to, well, I'm just copying that function from above. So you can see this, this is defining the function. The name of the function is hello, and the input parameters, it's an empty vector, and then every function will return its last vector as a return value. So if I just type hello here like this, it will return this div. So if I come and refresh this, then you can see it writes hello. So also, if I now do this, and after this I write, let's say hello 2, then it always returns only the last vector, so it will only return hello 2. If I want to return both of these, then I would need to open a div, and with that put these two vectors into a vector, and then what you can see is if I refresh this, I get both of the hellos. Now I'm going to now delete this and just come back to here, and the way it works in Rome is the siblings on a page all see each other's functions. So these you can cut your script into different parts. So my first hello world reference is this block, and it's in my namespace 1. In my second hello world, I wanted to experiment with, so how does it work when I pass a variable over to a function. So in this case, I have my call hello world function, and this will create a div. It will call hello world with the value hello world. I can change this maybe like this, and then you can see it changes up there. And then so you can see within this div it also calls from my namespace 1 hello world. So this is in my namespace 2. This is the function from hello world, my namespace 1. Now, in terms of the hello world function in my namespace 2, it takes one input, and this input, what I'm doing is I'm using print string to print the value of that. So how do I find print string? I came here to Clojure core, and I simply type print and started to scroll down. These are I'll come down to P, and here, there it was. I scrolled past. You can see all the different print values, and I can see print to a string and return it, so I can look at its definition. And so this is here are the examples of how I would use print string. And so from this I worked out that I just simply call the function. That's why I have this in brackets, and within that I call the value. Now, in my last attempt, what I wanted to do is I wanted to try to call a function in a loop. And so the way it works in Clojure is you use the map function. So what do we have here? First of all, I have my function here called hello, and it will call the hello function with a range. And if I come here and search for range, then you can see that the range function takes in a value and provides me with a vector of values. I can also set a start and an end and a step to range, but in this case I just simply wanted 3 numbers, so I'm sending in a vector of 3 values. Hello takes this vector of 3 values, it creates a div, and then I call the map function. This is the same as the JavaScript map. What it does, it maps this function. So you can see this function right here, this function, and takes each value of the vector n and passes it in to this function. And what this function does is each value will be I, and for each it prints another div. So you can see the result up there. If I take the other version of this, in this case what I'm doing, it's the same setup, it's the same map, but in this case what I'm doing is here within the function I call the plus function, and I concatenate hello world with the value of I. And so what I'm expecting to see is what you can see up there. It is hello world with the numbers I've passed in here. And if I would come here and I look at the definition of start and end, and I say, let's say this goes from 5 to 9, then not surprisingly what we should see here is the values within this range concatenated to hello world. So that's my first day of learning. I'm going to be sharing my graph so you can follow me along, as well as I'm going to continue every day learning a bit more Clojure, and hopefully in 1 or 2 weeks time I'll master the language sufficiently to be able to write meaningful Clojure scripts in Rome. Thank you.